So let us move ahead to lab 11. In this lab, we will look into three things. We will look into how to use view model. Remember, in one of the previous labs, we had looked into the concept of view model. So we will try to implement view model in this project. Second, we will look into how to display data in a grid. And third one, we will look into the concept of partial views. So this is a big lab, but I'm sure that you will enjoy it. So if you see for now, what is happening is, we put the customer name, we put the customer code, and when we click on submit, it actually takes you to this page. It does insert into the database. So in other words, it does go and insert into the database, but it does not display me anywhere in a grid or something, right? So what I would like to do is, I would like to do the following now. So when I go and put the customer name and customer code, and when I click on submit, I would like to come to the same page, and I would like to display all the data inside the data grid down below the submit button. Again, I will repeat what I want to do. When I click on the submit button, I don't want to go to this page now. It should come back to this page, and down below in the submit button, it should display the data in a data grid. So let us start moving logically. So first thing, when I click on submit button, I would like to return to this enter page again and again, right? So let us move ahead logically. So let us first go to our source code here. So the first thing what we would like to do is, as soon as he goes and he clicks the submit button, and this submit action is called, I would like to always go to the enter customer, right? So irrespective you have an error or you don't have an error, what I want to do is actually, I want to always return to the enter page. So you can see here, the end user goes and clicks on the submit button. If the model is valid, it goes and it fires this. It calls the data access layer, that is our entity framework. It adds the object into the database, but later on it goes and goes to the enter customer page, right? And in case there are errors, it will still go to the enter customer page, right? So irrespective now, there is an error or there is not an error, I would like to go to the enter customer page. So that is already done. But before we move ahead with the code changes, let us have some logical discussion here. Because this change of displaying the grid on this page here is a big change. And I would like to go and implement this change in a proper manner and not in a shabby manner. Okay. So let us have a logical discussion here. Let us conclude something and then we will go ahead with the code change. Now, if you remember, this view was pointing towards the customer class. So if you remember, right, this view, when we created it as a strongly typed view, and it was pointing towards this customer class here. You can see at the top, this is my enter customer.cs HTML, and it is pointing towards the customer class. So in other words, when we added the view, right, very quickly to just revise, when we added the view, we added it as a strongly typed view and we selected the customer class here, right? Great. But now, if you look at our current requirement, we need to point towards two model classes. One is, yes, we need to point towards the customer class, and the other one is we need to point towards list of customer class, right? In other words, if you visualize the screen, one is, yes, he needs to point towards the customer class, but the grid down below which we will display, right, needs to point towards list of customer class. But now if you look at this add view template here, right, it's a drop down. In other words, it is not a checkbox. So I cannot go and point towards multiple models. So my view cannot point towards multiple models. So what do? So you remember in one of the previous videos, we had talked about view model. So a view model is a class which provides necessary data to a view. If you look at the word view model, it says view plus model data. So whatever data the view wants, plus definitely he will also use the model data to accomplish that. Now, one of the things, which would have flashed in your mind is, why didn't I use temp data, view data or view bag? Now remember, temp data, view bag, these are session management techniques. In other words, when the user is moving from one screen to the other screen, if you want to go and remember the previous values, then you will use one of these techniques. But these techniques don't help you to represent data of a view. So yes, you can achieve that by using these techniques, but that won't be a proper way of implementing things. So when you're saying that you want to represent a data of a view, you should create a view model class. And I think Sukesh sir has already explained the same in one of the previous labs in very much detail, right? So let us go ahead and let us create a class here called as customer view model. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go and create a folder, just to make things better and, in a better way, in a much organized way. What I'll do is I'll not mix up the view model with the model classes. So let me go and create a folder here. So I'm going to go and add a folder. So let me go and add a folder here. Am I in the debug mode? No. Yeah, there it is. I'm becoming old now. So I'm going to go and add a folder view model. Okay. And inside this folder, let me go and add a class here. So I'm going to go and add a new item, a class, and I will name this class as customer view model. Okay. So let me go and add a class template. So let me search this, and there it is. So let me go and add a class here, customer view model, right? And I will add it. There it is. Great. So this customer view model class will represent customer data, plus it will represent list of customer, right? So the first thing is, because my customer view model at the end of the day uses model internally, I need to first go and import the models. Remember that at this moment, our project is becoming a full-blown project actually, but still our project name is Hello World. So at some moment down the line, I'm going to go and change that. So don't worry about it. Okay. At this moment, just continue with a natural flow. So here, this customer view model will have customer model, plus it will have list of customers, right? So I'm going to say here create a property. So one represents the customer object, right? And maybe I can just say small customer here, right? And the other one represents list of customers. So this class view model here has two models inside it. One is customer and one is list of customer. So by doing this, what will happen is, this customer here, this customer object will help us to validate, it will get attached with those two text boxes. Remember, customer code and customer name. While this customers collection here will help us to display the data in a grid. Great. So I'm going to go and build this, and this view model, I'm going to go and point towards that enter customer.ch HTML view. So I will go to the enter customer ch HTML view, and over here I will say dot view model. So I'm going to say here, please go and point towards the dot view model and point towards the customer view model. So you can see now this UI enter customer.ch HTML is pointing towards the customer view model, and the customer view model is providing all the necessary model objects to this view. So now the first thing is, what will happen here is, now if you look at your model, right, your model structure has changed. So if you look at your model, you can see that in your model, you will have very quickly, let me just go and zoom on this. So you can see here, your model now, or I'll say you can probably name it as a view model, must be for clarity's sake. You can see here it says that your model has two kinds of objects inside it. One is it has a single customer object, which will actually help us to bind with these text boxes, that is customer code and customer name. And second one, you can see that it has a customers collection. So now your model has completely been re-architected, right? And because it has been re-architected, you can see that you can see a lot of errors over here, right? So let us go and fix those errors first. So now what we have to say here, we have to say m dot customer's customer name. Okay, so we have to select the single object. So let us go and start fixing all this here. Customer code, right? So there it is. So you can see now I have taken the single object, the single class, and I have bind it with these text boxes here. And second is, we would like to go and display that grid, right? So to display the grid, I'm going to say here for each, right? For each customer in my models customer collection, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and start using my tr and td over here. So I'll say okay. First thing is, all this loop will happen inside the table tag, right? So I'm going to have a table tag here. Now remember that there are no server controls. So in other words, you cannot use the data grid, you cannot use your grid view and all those, right? You have to go and use pure HTML. And this is good. Why? Because now we are getting the complete control over the HTML. So remember, in one of the previous videos, I said that there is no page lifecycle, there is no behind code, there are no server controls, there are no view state. Okay. So be ready to write a lot of code here because this is MVC. So I'm going to go and put two columns here, one column. So inside the tr tag, I will put two columns. One is for the customer code, right? And I will also go and indent this because when you indent it, people can read it, right? So td customer name, great, right? And inside this, this complete tr will be displayed, right? And in this, I will say, okay, I want to go and display. Whenever you start with the razor code, you have to start with @, and whenever you want to go and start with the HTML tags, just start with your greater than sign or less than sign. Okay, so this is the good part about razor. You don't have to actually see that where it starts and where it ends as compared to the web form view, right? So let me see here, o.customer name. Great. So great. So you can see now this top text boxes, that is customer code and customer name, point towards that single customer object, while the grid down below point towards the collection of customers, right? So this is great, but now still things will not work because we have to do a lot of changes in the controller, right? So we'll go logically, don't worry, right? The first thing is, when you go and now call the enter customer screen, you cannot pass the customer object only, right? You have to actually pass the view model. So the first thing is, in the controller, let me go and reference. So I'm going to go and reference the view model class, right? So what happens? So first time when the end user comes in, he actually goes and hits this enter action here. So in this enter action, I need to go and pass the customer view model. So let me go here and say customer view model obj is equal to new customer view model, right? And this obj I'm going to go and pass here. Now, when the first time the user comes to the enter customer screen, right, I'm going to just go and bind an empty customer object, right? So remember, we had a customer object and we had a customers object. So this customer object is for the single object which will bind with the text boxes, and the customers collection is the collection which will bind with the table. So initially when the user comes in first time, definitely the customer object is empty, but the customer collection, we need to go and fill it from the database, right? So for that, again, we're going to use entity framework. So I'm going to go and create the object of customer dal here. So I'll say here, okay, data access layer is equal to new customer data access layer. Okay, I'm going to go and get the list of customer collection here. So customers collection. So I'll say here data access layer dot to list. So data access layer dot customers dot to list dot customer, right? So get this whole collection and pass it to the view models customer collection. I will suggest you to give a pause here and to understand this code. So first thing is, I have created the view model object, right? Second is initially when the objects get binded to the customer code and customer screen, so the single object which is there in the view model is fresh. So I've just assigned a new customer, and then by using the data access layer, I have filled the customers collection. Great, right? And this whole thing I have passed to the enter customer screen. Great. So now let us go and test this. So I'm going to go and rebuild the solution. Let us do a Control F5 here, and let us see at least when we run the screen first time, do we go and see the complete list of data in the grid, right? So let me do a Control F5 here. So here we have to say customer/enter. Oh, you can see there. So you can now see at the top, this customer name and customer code is binded with that empty customer object, and down below the customers collection is binded with the list of customer objects, right? So you can see that how beautiful view model is. Great, isn't it? But now when I click on the submit screen, right, we have to do a lot of code changes, because remember the whole model structure has changed, right? So this is not going to be simple. Now the submit button, right, has complicated problems to solve because the complete model structure has changed and a lot of things has changed, right? So let me go step by step, what kind of changes has happened. So I'm going to go and put a debug point here in the submit here, and let me go and run this in a debug mode. So there it is running, right? So I'll say here customer/enter. I'm inside a virtual machine, so it is a bit slow. Really sorry for that. Come on. And when you run in a debug mode, right, it is more slow. There it is. Okay. So now if you see here, let us say this is testy. Okay. And remember it is 3 characters first and then 4 letters later on. And it should be capital as well. So there it is. Now when I click on the submit button, right, so let me click on submit here. I'm in a debug mode at this moment, right? And if you remember, this customer object was populating by itself, but if you see now, the customer object is not populating by itself. You can see the customer code and customer name was null. Why is it so? Okay, it is because we have changed the model structure, right? And because we have changed the model structure, the text box names have changed. You can see now it is customer.customer_name. If you see the code, it is customer.customer_code. Why this is happening? Because if you remember, right, in the enter customer.ch_html, we have to now use m.customer.customer_name, right? So because of that, the property name, that is this customer code and customer name, these names are not same as the HTML text box names. And that's why the auto mapping is not happening. So the first thing what we need to do is we need to take these names here like this customer.customer_code and customer.customer_name, and we need to go and map the objects manually. So automatic mapping will not happen now, right? So the first thing is we need to go and delete this because there is no auto mapping, and we need to go and fill this customer object by using the proper text box names. So let me say here obj.customer_name is equal to request.form customer.customer_name, obj.customer_code is equal to request.form customer code. Now remember that the way I have done this coding here is not a good code. We need to use model binders. The proper way to implement this is model binders. If you remember, in one of the previous videos, in one of the previous labs, we have explained model binders. So the proper way is that you need to go and put this mapping into a separate class, so that in case tomorrow if something changes, you need to just go and modify that class and not all over the place, right? But for now, our concentration is to complete this small module here. So we'll do the refactoring later on. But now again, we need to do some tidying up here, right? Remember, this enter customer should not be binded with the customer object, but it should be binded with the customer view model object, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say here customer view model VM is equal to new customer view model, right? And this object I'm going to go and pass here, so I'm going to say here VM, right? So the first thing is, if the customer object is valid and it is saved to database, then what we need to do is the single customer model what we had inside the view model, it has to be set with a new customer object, right? Or else what we need to do is we need to take the same object what we have at this moment, right, and set it to this, right? In other words, you know, if the validation is fine and it has been inserted into database, we just need to go and refresh it with the new object and send it to the enter customer screen. But in case if the object is not valid, that means we need to go and persist the customer name and customer code, right? So you can see here I'm passing the same obj back to the view model dot customer object. And finally, what we shouldn't be forgetting is we need to go and load the customer collection, right? So we need this code here. So I'm going to go and copy this code. I know that it's a very bad idea to do copy paste, but at this moment, you know, let's concentrate on completing the project, right? So over here, I'm going to say, I'm going to go and load back the customers from the database. I'm going to fill this collection and pass it the view model so that, you know, whatever new customers have been added to the database, those get filled into this collection over here, right? So let us do a Control F5. Let us check if our module is working properly. So let me add here new customer, new, okay, new customer. So new 1002 must be, I'll say submit. And you can see that this new customer has been added. Let us again test once again, say new brand customer. So must be new 1003. Press on submit. There it is. So you can see that our module is working. That's nice. So this is nice. So everything is working. Now what I would like to do is I would like to also go and create a simple search screen. So must be somewhere over here. I would like to create a hyperlink, and when the end user goes and clicks on that hyperlink, the end user can go and search by using the customer name or customer code. Okay. So for that, the first thing is we need to go and create an input screen here for the search. So let me go to my solution explorer here. Let me go to my customer folder. Let me add a view here, and let us name this view as search customer. Now, because this is a search customer screen, definitely I need to go and display the collection of customers. So what I can do is I can use the customer view model class. If you remember, in the customer view model class, we had a customers property, plural, right? So in other words, we had a collection there. So I'm going to go and add this search customer screen, and I'm going to go and bind that search customer screen with the customer view model. Great. Now over here, I would like to go and create a very simple form with a very simple text box and one submit button. So in that text box, a person can go and type the customer name, and when he clicks on the submit button, somewhere down below, I would like to go and display the complete customer list, whatever he has searched inside a grid. So first thing I will say here, enter customer name. I need a text box. So let me go to my toolbox. Remember, there are no server controls. There is no behind code. There is no page lifecycle. So I'm going to go and use simple HTML controls here. And here I will say name is equal to txt customer name. Remember, the name matters, the ID does not matter, because this name is going to be sent to the server side. So this is what is important for us. I'll put a BR tag. I also need a submit button. So let me go to my toolbox here and let me take the submit button. So that is great. So there it is. I can put a proper name here in the value. Let's say search customer, right? So that the end user understands that this button is to search the customer. So once he clicks on the submit button, I would like to go to action. So I would like to take all this data and go to action called as must be search customer, and the way of sending the data is method equal to post. So method is equal to where is IntelliSense? Method is equal to there it is, post, right? Good. Now definitely in the customer controller class also we need to go and have a search action here. So I'm going to say here public action result, I will say search, right? And in the search action what will happen is I'm going to go and create the object of the customer data access layer. I'm going to go and fill it with the collection, and I will be passing this customer view model to the search customer screen. So I'm going to have the customer view model here, right? And the collection will be populated and it will be passed to the search customer screen. But remember that we also have a search. In other words, in the search customer, the end user is going to go and type the customer name on which he wants to search, right? So what we need to do here is in the customer controller, we need to go and put that criteria over here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use LinkU at this moment. In case you are new to LinkU, my suggestion is to go and see the LinkU questions and answers video series where I have explained LinkU in more detail. But at this moment, let us go and put the search criteria. So I'm going to say here from, that's the way LinkU queries are. Remember the word flower. So first with a from, then with a let, then the order bys, then the where conditions, then the select. So remember the word flower. So I'll say here from X in customers, right? Now I don't have an order by or a let at this moment, and I don't want to get into sorting at this moment. So what I can do is I can just type here where X dot, so you can see here first I have the F, then LO, but the LO I don't need at this moment. I don't want to do any kind of let, I don't want to do any kind of order by. So that's why I've just started with the where clause. So I'll say here customer name is equal to whatever is typed, right? So whatever is typed in the request.form, right? Just give it over here and select this complete object, convert it to a list of customer type and put it into that collection. Must be, you can pause this video, look at this query here. Remember, LinkU queries are very easy. From, where, select. Remember the word flower. We don't have the L and the O at this moment, but from X in the collection, then the where criteria, and then do the select, right? So that's it. So this looks to be good and it should work. But one more thing which is pending here is in the search customer screen down below, we need to again go and display the table collection, right? So what I'll do is we already have written the table collection logic here. So I'm going to go and copy this table, Control C from here, and I will just paste it here. So in other words, whatever has been selected or whatever has been searched, it will actually go and display the customer collection over here, right? Now you can see here that we are getting this small error here saying customer class not found. Why? Because we have to import the namespace as well. So let me go here and import the models as well. Okay, right, good. Right, in case you have problems understanding the source code, what you can do is you can go to the QuestPon VD section and you can download the source code from there. So this is nice. Looks to me that we should be able to search, but again, to invoke the search customer user interface, we need an action, right? So let me go back to my customer controller class here and let me create a simple action here saying search, enter search. Okay. And this enter search, what it does is he just goes ahead and returns the search customer. Okay. So this guy actually just goes and invokes the search customer. Also remember that at the end of the day, we need to pass him the view model. So at this moment, I'm going to just pass him an empty view model in the collection. Also, we don't have at the start, the customer collection is null, right? Good. So this enter search will go and invoke the search customer screen. while the search customer will, the search action will actually do the search. So let me do a control F5 here. Let us go and test this module. So I'll say here slash customer slash enter search, right? There it is, search the customer. You can see that at this moment he is displaying me an empty collection. So if we see in our database at this moment we have Shiv here, we have 2 records of Shiv, you can see. So let us go back here and let us say I want to search by the name Shiv. Oh, there is an error. What is it? Customer slash search customer. Okay, that's right. We had made some mistake here, right? Over here we have given the action name as search, but in the enter customer we have given the action name as, sorry, in the search customer we have given the action name as search customer. So either we make this as search or either we make that as search customer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and make this action as search customer. Okay, so let us go and build this. Let me go back to my browser. Let me reload it. So we have corrected the action names. So let us see, search customer, slow. Okay, so a lot of errors there, and it is good that we have errors, right? So let us see what the error is. So the error says it does not recognize the method string. What is it? So let us go into the debug mode. Let us see that what is this error all about. Okay, let me just go and expand this from X. Okay, let us see. So okay, that's a very genuine error. Actually you can see here this request.form is an object, right? So we need to actually go and convert it to a string, because when you do this equal to, right, this will not work, right? So this request.form actually returns an object. So we need to go and convert this to a string. Okay, so I hope that will fix up things. What I've done is, in this complete video series, whenever I am coding, right, if I get any errors, I record the errors as well. So with that, what happens is, you not only see all the goody things, but if whatever things happens bad, I'm going to go and show that bad thing and I'm going to go and correct it. So with that, you will learn much better. So I fixed it now. Again, I will repeat, this request.form is actually an object. So you need to go and convert it to a string, because this, when you compare with the customer name, right, the customer name is a string at the left hand side, right? So at both sides, it should be of the same data type. Okay, so let me go back here now. Let me again say customer slash enter search, and let me type here Shiv. Let's see what happens. Oh, again we have an error here, and I think I need to check what the problem is. Okay, let us go in a debug mode. So let me not start guessing things from here. So let me go in the debug mode. Let's see what's happening. Must be I was too overconfident of putting the .to string over there. And that's how we learn, right? That's how we become developers. We do mistakes, we improvise on it, and we learn, right? So I'm going to go and again press enter search here. I'm going in a debug mode to just check what is happening. And I'm going to say search customer. All right, I'll just go and see. Let us see where it crashes. It mostly crashes here in this link query. So let me go and put a step into here. And there the error is. The error says that it does not recognize the system.string. Something is wrong with the string. So what I'll do is, that means, this x.customer name is equal to request.form. Something is happening wrong there. So let me do like this. Let me go and create a very separate string variable. I'm not really sure why this error is coming up, but what I guess is, this comparison is not happening. So what I've done is, just for safety's sake, I have just created a separate string variable. I've taken the data from the request.form txt customer name, pushed it into that variable, and that variable I'm using in the link query. So I hope that this should fix up the error. Let me go and rebuild the solution, right? And let me again go back to my search customer. Let us see, enter search. So let me go and reload this. So hope this time it works. What's happening? So let me do control F5 here. So I'm going to say here customer slash enter customer, and just pray to God this will work. So say search customer. and it's taking time, and there it is. Good. Okay, I'm in a virtual machine, so in this virtual machine I have a lot of things loaded. So if you see in our database, we have two records of Shiv. Let's check it. You can see that we have two records of Shiv here, SUS and ULA, and it is showing me both of these records here, right? Great. So we have the search customer screen now. We also have a very nice enter customer screen very quickly. So we have the search as well as we have the enter customer screen here, right? So nice. So by this screen, I can go and add records to my database, right? And by this screen, I can go and search the customer. We'll see the navigation part later on, how we can take up all this thing together and make up a single application or make up a single navigation. But at this moment, we are building in parts and it looks very good. Now this is nice. We have both the screens, right? But you can see that we have a lot of duplication here, duplication of code. In other words, if you see, we want to display the data in the grid here as well, and we want to go and display the data in the grid here as well. So for that, what we have done is, we have this for each customer TR/TD table code in the enter customer screen, as well as we have the same TR/TD search for each in the search customer. Now, what is a good code? A good code is that code, where we don't have repetitive code again and again. So it would be great, right, if we can centralize this table and the for each into a separate file, right? And then if we can reuse that for each and the table across both of the screens. And that's where exactly we have something called as partial views. Partial views are nothing but, you can think about, they are like reusable controls. So you can create those reusable controls and then you can reuse in whichever view you want. So let me go ahead. Let me go to my solution explorer here and let me add a view. But this view is going to be a partial view, right? A reusable view, like how you had in ASP.NET Web Forms, the reusable controls, custom controls in that way. So I'm going to say this is a partial view which says display customers. Right? And this partial view definitely uses my view model. Remember, because the collection at the end of the day is in the view model. So I'm going to go and take this partial view and I'm going to go and add it. And let me take the code of rendering the table and let me take this code and Control X and let me go and put it over here, Control V, right? Right, and definitely we need to go and import the model here, customer model, because we are using that model to loop the collection, right? So I'm going to go here and use the model here as well. So in that way, this customer class will be used to loop the collection. So now the next thing is we need to go and use this partial view inside the search customer and the enter customer screen. So if you remember, our partial view name was, very quickly, it was display customers, right? So let us first go to the search customer here. So down below here, we want to go and display the table, right? So we're going to say here @partial, sorry, HTML, I'm so sorry, HTML dot partial and the name of the view. So the name of the view is, look at the right hand side, display customers, right? So I'll say here display customers. And remember that this is a strongly typed view, right? It expects a model, a view model. So whichever view model is coming to the search customer, the same kind of a view model, that is a customer view model, we have used in the display customer screen. So I'm going to go and pass the same model here as well, right? So the same model which comes to the screen will get passed to the partial view as well. And in the same way, also in the enter customer, I would like to go and paste this. Great. So now let us go and test our code. So there my screen is running. So if I type here Shiv, I'm seeing here Shiv. Also let me quickly go and type here enter. Let us test here in the entry screen as well. So if I say here test new and test 1004, submit, and somewhere down below there you can see test new, right? So both of the screens are working. That is good. So in other words, by using partial view, we can reuse the same code again and again. It's like a reusable control. We can reuse that code, that view on multiple views here, right? Now, before I conclude the session, let me quickly touch base a very, very important functionality called as the web grid. Now, Microsoft developers, they have been using data grid, grid view, and a lot of those automated controls, ASP.NET Server controls. And suddenly if you tell them that, okay, now you need to go and write so much code to display a table, that is not fair, right? Said and done, what Microsoft has done, they have provided a very, very nice functionality here where you as Microsoft developers, you don't really have to go and write so much code here. So that functionality is called as the data grid. So what I'll do is, let me go quickly and comment this code over here. So I'm going to go and select this and I'm going to go and comment this code, right? Okay. So we have a nice functionality here called as the web grid. Okay. So over here, we will go and create the object of the web grid class. So I'll say a new web grid, and we need to go and pass him the customers collection. So I'll say a model.customers collection. So he will use this customers collection and create a HTML for you. So here I'll go and use this object. I'll say get the HTML and display it on the page. Okay. So there it is. So we are almost done. Let us go and test this. So now you can see here, rather than going and looping through the TR and TD and creating a table, we have used a web grid. So let me do a Control F5. Let us run this. So I'll say here customer/enter, right? And there it is. You can see that the fonts have become somewhat better. There is a hyperlink here as well, which is given for sorting purpose. So, I know that it is not like that data grid and grid view which we had in ASP.NET Web Forms, but still I think, it minimizes your code. Should developers use web grid or they shouldn't use a web grid? Now, the first question which will come to your mind is that what kind of question is this? Because definitely you would like to use web grid, you would like to minimize your programming time, right? But remember that when you're working with designers, now if you look at designers, they use front page, they use Dreamweaver, they understand HTML. So if you're going to put a web grid like this, then definitely, they won't be able to take control of the HTML. They won't be able to do any kind of designing, right? So if you're working tightly with a designing team, where you have a very, sophisticated design, then definitely, you'd like to stick to this table tag so that, they can modify the table tag, they can apply CSS, they can change the background, they can send you back, and then you can apply the programming on it. But if you're going to use this web grid, then definitely you have to work very tightly with the designing team. Whatever they say, you have to pass the CSS here, you have to write a lot of code with them. So I would suggest that in case you want to just go and display it, right, it's fine. But in case if there is some kind of a sophisticated design which is done by some designer and it is going to and fro, then definitely stick to your HTML and apply the razor tags in between. So this brings us to the end of lab 11, which is almost a 1-hour video, and that completes 4 hours of our MVC training. Now this was a lengthy video, but we learned a lot in this video. We talked about how to implement view model, we saw the web grid, we saw partial views, and not to mention, we saw so many errors and we corrected them as well. So that makes us more strong, more confident, when we work on real-time enterprise MVC projects. So definitely a very, very well spent 1 hour. So we have 12 hours of more MVC training still pending. So in case you have issues, anything, below is the email address, that is the phone number, you can email us. And in the next video, we will have, it's going to be a 10 minutes video where we will talk about action results and view result. And then we'll again move ahead with our project, and in the next projects, in the next lab of the project, we're going to talk about jQuery, we're going to talk about JSON, we're going to talk about Ajax. So hope that you have enjoyed this video, and in the next video, jQuery, JSON, action result and view result.